Memphis Grizzlies have suspended guard Morant for 1 game for, they say, conduct.
Fantasy basketball is not won on draft night. It's won by knowing when to cut the dead weight. Every single season, there are players who quietly tank your lineup week after week, and holding on to them too long can ruin your season. So today, I'm breaking down the players you need to trade, drop, or just completely move on from before they drag your team down to the bottom of the standings. But before we do that, welcome back to The Corner, your #1 destination for everything fantasy basketball related. If you're serious about winning your league this year, you need to hit the subscribe button and join the community. In today's video, we're breaking down 6 players on the hot seat for your fantasy rosters, guys you need to decide on now before they drag down your fantasy for the entire season. And kicking off the list, we have Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane has been a hot topic for discussion so far this season, 2 weeks in, and we're all sick and tired of him right now. Coming into the season, if you drafted Desmond Bane, you probably did it for one reason: upside. You saw the potential of that high-powered Orlando Magic offense and you wanted a piece of it, just like me. You knew that there might be a little bit of a learning curve, a new system, new teammates, but you were banking on that breakout once he did settle in, and well, we are still waiting for that to happen. Bane opened up the season with a couple of solid games which showed some flashes of what we were expecting, but since then it has been rough. Multiple bad games in a row, inconsistent shooting, and very long stretches where he just disappears off the court. And I'm not ready to jump ship on him completely, not yet, but we have to be honest. The Magic experiment so far for Desmond Bane has not been fun. And when you dig into the numbers, this is where the concern becomes even clearer. Bane's shooting splits are down across the board. He's gone from a career 60% true shooting percentage down to just 51%, and his turnover rate is a career high 12.3%. That's not just a slump at this point. That's a player who hasn't found his rhythm in this system quite yet. Orlando's offense has shifted from around Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero, and both of them have hit their stride already in this offense. In his blowout wins against Washington and Detroit this past week, Bane's usage rate plummeted in both of those games, and it's obvious he's still trying to figure out where he fits in this offense. Now, this doesn't mean that you should bail on him completely just yet, but it's time to start paying attention. If you're in a shallow league like 6 or 8 teams, you can justify moving on from him, dropping him, and that's pretty much it. But if you're in a 12-team league or more, you've got to be patient and you have to hold on tight. His value is super low right now, and trading him at this point means selling for pennies on the dollar. I still believe Desmond Bane will bounce back once the offense balances out and his confidence returns, but right now it's looking very, very rough. The shot selection, the rhythm, the fit, it's all out of sync. If you're holding on to him, you have to stay patient, but keep that finger near the panic button, because if this continues for another couple of weeks, it might be time to finally make that move. Next, we have Jacob Paleto, and let's just talk about this right quick. He has been easily one of the worst early season fantasy picks so far. This is a guy who has been one of the most reliable centers in fantasy basketball for the past couple of years. Steady rebounding, high field goal percentage, and solid defensive stats. But this season, it has been a completely different story. He struggled immensely out of the gate, and now, to make matters worse, he's dealing with a lower back injury that's keeping him sidelined. The problem with Paleto isn't just the slow start, it's just the uncertainty. His numbers are down across the board, and the rumors of a prolonged recovery are starting to take service as well. When you combine that with how deep the center position is this year, it's getting harder to justify holding on to him, especially if you're already dealing with other injuries or have tight roster spots in your league. Now, I want to be clear, I am not 100% out on Paleto long term. When healthy, he's still a top tier big who can give you double doubles pretty much on demand, but right now his fantasy value is in the gutter. And with no clear timetable for his return, it might be time to cut him loose and forget about him, at least for now. We're also seeing the emergence of Murray Boyles over in Toronto, and even when Paleto eventually does return, that's going to eat into his role and his minutes. Toronto's front court rotation is shifting, and it's not built around Paleto like it used to be. So here's the move. If you're in a competitive league and you need production right now, do not hesitate to drop Paleto. You can circle back on him once he's healthy if he is available, but as of right now, he is a must drop player. The panic is real and it's also justified. but if he does bounce back mid-season, he can end up being one of the best buyback candidates on the waivers. Now next we have Thompson. He is one of the more complicated names on this list. He's not playing badly by any means. In fact, he's been one of the better players on the court for Houston this year. But when you look at his fantasy production, it just has not matched the hype coming into the season, and that's where the panic starts to creep in. Coming into this season, Thompson was one of the most talked about breakout candidates in fantasy basketball, and for good reason. After the way he closed out the 24-25 season, dominating on both ends of the court, putting up historic efficiency, and flashing that all-star potential and athleticism, the expectations were sky high coming into this year. Many managers, myself included, were considering drafting him in the second round, banking on him taking that leap into fantasy superstardom. But so far this year, he's just been fine, and that's pretty much it, mediocre. Thompson currently sits at 13th among guards in scoring and 82nd overall across all players in fantasy basketball. And for someone drafted in the top 14th of almost every single draft, that is a major letdown. He's not killing your team, but he's not winning you weeks either. And that is a huge problem for a player that you invested so much into. The frustrating part is that hasn't shown any pop moments yet. There haven't been any of those explosive triple-double performances or big takeover games that make you feel like the breakout is coming. It's just been steady, average production, and while consistency is nice to have, it's not what you drafted him for. So should you panic? Honestly, yes, you should panic just a little bit, just a little. I don't believe this is who is going to be all season. The talent is just too real and too raw. And the usage in Houston is still there, but the slow start with no breakout signs is definitely concerning. The worst part is that he's in fantasy limbo right now. He's not playing bad enough to justify dropping him onto the roster, which I'm pretty sure no one would ever do at this point, but he's also not playing well enough to get a solid trade return either. That means for most managers, your best move right now is to sit tight and wait. You have to be patient, keep him rostered, and hope that the breakout comes in the next few weeks. But if this pace continues to week 5 or week 6 without any real spike in production, it might be time to start exploring trade options before his value drops even further down the list. Thompson is definitely not a bust, but right now, he's testing the patience of every fantasy manager who believes in the hype. And if you clicked on this video, you knew this was going to be about Trae Young. Trae Young, this one hurts the most, and that's because he has had a very rough start to the season, and then on top of that, he also sprained his MCL this past week. Things just went from bad to worse for anyone who drafted Trae Young in the first round. Before the injury, Trae was off to a historical slow start for him by his standards. The efficiency was just not there this year. The shot volume felt forced, and managers who spent a first round pick on him were already starting to feel that creeping frustration. Now, with him set to miss the next 4 weeks as well, it's officially time to panic if you have Trae Young. Whenever your first round pick goes down, it throws your entire season into chaos. For those of you who managed to start 2-0 with Trae Young underperforming, first off, congratulations, because that's impressive, and honestly, you probably got lucky. But let's be real, over the next few weeks, things are going to get very rough. You're going to lose production, you're going to lose matchups, and if your depth is not elite, the standings are going to start slipping away from you very fast. Trae has been one of the best fantasy point guards of basketball for the last couple of years, so this early collapse, both in performance and now also health, is a major blow. The best case scenario is that he returns healthy and also refreshed by mid-season, but the risk is still there. MCL sprains don't just go away, they linger for a while, and the Hawks have no reason to push him back if the season starts to slip away. So what should you do? If you're in a deep league with 12+ teams, where stars are hard to come by, this might actually be the moment for you to trade him while he's out, but you can't expect full value for a player who won't be playing for a month. But if you can flip trade for 2 reliable mid-tier players who can keep you afloat for the next month, that could be a solid play. But in shallow leagues, you might just have to bite the bullet and stash him on your team, even if your IR slots are currently filled, but understand that the next few weeks are going to test your roster management skills. And if you can't adjust to that fast, this could be the moment your season starts to slip away. Next on the list, we have the rookie Ace Bailey, because this one is so simple. It's time to move on. The rookie has been flat out terrible since the start of the season, and there's really no other way to put it. If you haven't already dropped him at this point, do yourself a favor and cut him now. The panic button shouldn't just be pressed, it should be jammed straight down into the table at this point. Bailey has not been able to carve out any consistent role on the Utah Jazz so far this year, and there's just no fantasy justification to keep holding out hope right now for Ace Bailey. Now, let me be clear, I'm not saying that Ace Bailey sucks or he can't play basketball. This is not about talent. Ace Bailey is a good player, and long term I think he's going to be one of the best pieces on this Jazz roster. But fantasy basketball is all about production right now, not potential in the future. And right now there's none. So until his minutes, confidence, and usage turn around, you're just wasting a roster spot and he has to go. Before this moment in the season, the alarms are blaring for Ace Bailey. It's time to drop him and don't look back. You can always pick him up later if he does happen to turn things around, but for now it's time to move on and use that spot for someone who's actually helping you win week to week. And the last person on this list is going to be Ja Morant, because once again he has found his way onto a panic list. And honestly, the NBA at this point would not be the NBA if Ja Morant was not going through some type of drama. It's starting to feel like a yearly tradition at this point with the Memphis Grizzlies and Ja Morant. Every season, it's something with Ja in Memphis. Whether it's injuries, suspensions, or just off-court drama, owning him in fantasy has been the equivalent of playing Russian roulette. You never quite know what's coming next, but right now the situation looks way worse than usual. Reports over the past week are surfacing of tension between Morant and the new coaching staff. And when you look at the Grizzlies as a whole, things are very far from stable. The team chemistry just feels off, and honestly, it looks like Ja may want out of Memphis entirely. And add to that fact that he's currently averaging the fewest minutes per game of his entire career. The Grizzlies already hit my red list last year when they fired Taylor Jenkins before the playoffs. That move to me screamed instability. We're seeing the fallout of that decision now. When a star player's usage, attitude, and playing time are all trending downward, fantasy managers need to start paying attention to the signs. Right now, Ja Morant is ranked as the 14th best point guard and 63rd overall in fantasy basketball. That's not exactly what you expected from a guy drafted in the first 2 rounds, but it's not entirely terrible either. So if you took him early, you're probably feeling that sting every single week of the inconsistencies. So here's my recommendation for the play. If you still have Ja, it's time to trade him while his value is still high. On paper, he's still putting up solid numbers, and casual managers might not see the warning signs quite yet. Move him now while the market still views him as a top tier guard, because once the off-court noise gets louder or a trade becomes real, his value could tank overnight. And don't get me wrong, Ja is a phenomenal player, there's no denying that fact. But fantasy basketball is about consistency and reliability, and right now, Ja Morant offers neither of those two things. Don't let name value sink your season, and this might be the time to cash out before it's way too late. So these are the players you need to move on from right now before they drag your fantasy team down with them. If you're serious about winning your leagues, click the video on your screen right now to see my top sleeper waiver picks for this week. Those moves could be the difference between winning and missing the playoffs on the road. Thanks for coming to the corner. Now go make the smart play.